we'll proceed with the session for the second half. The session is GST getting ready for remedies in Gestat. To handle this session, we have CA Jatin Christopher. Can I request Pramod Hegde, Vice Chairman, to escort the speaker? And also greet him with a floral bouquet. So welcome to you. As his name says, he is A. Jatin Christopher. He is the only one Jatin Christopher, and who doesn't need any introduction. All of us know him very well, probably from our CA study days, educational days also. But still, I'll take the pleasure to introduce him with a very brief words. He is a published author and a resource person for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in its various post-qualification programs and indirect taxation, and extends support to ICAI in publication of educational and research material on various indirect topics. He is also a resource person for the government in conducting training for practitioners, trade, and officers. He's been in practice since 2000 as a partner in JCS, a full-service firm with presence across India. So this is Jatin Christopher for you members. So welcome to you, and thank you so much for taking your time today. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, friends. I'm very grateful to the branch for inviting me and permitting me to share some thoughts about GST tribunal. While we were speaking earlier, Sumant mentioned that not many of us are involved in practice at the tribunal. But my sense is, as far as GST is concerned, practice at the tribunal is inevitable, because remedies before tribunal will be few and far between. And if you actually visit Bangalore CESTAT and spend a few days just sitting quietly in the court hall to witness the proceedings, it will be greatly encouraging, because if the way proceedings take place in open court, it does not require more talent than what we already have as chartered accountants to practice reasonably well at the tribunal. About GST tribunal itself, since it is not constituted, it's not that there's very little to talk about tribunal. GST tribunal has to be constituted, it will be constituted. The delay initially was due to, just for those who need some background, the delay initially was due to certain principles laid down by Supreme Court in the way functions of the executive and functions of the judiciary need to be separated. Those principles were not followed in spirit in the provisions on constitution of GST tribunal. So Madras Bar Association carried the matter to the High Court and then to Supreme Court, where Madras High Court struck down certain provisions of the GST law. One was, the tribunal as initially conceived, was to comprise of 3 members, 1 judicial member, 1 technical member from the state administration, 1 technical member from the central administration. The grievance before the court was, how can it be 2:1? How can judiciary be minority on the bench? So Madras High Court readily struck down the provisions that said it has to be 3 members, and an amendment was made to the statute to introduce 4 members, 2 judicial members, 2 technical members. So now technical members are not in a majority. Background to tribunal itself is that the topic is so specialized and the domain understanding so esoteric that it requires someone with deep understanding of administration of this law to make some contribution as far as the tribunal is concerned. India's experience with the tribunals has had a checkered history. And if you see the run-up to the Tribunal Reforms Act of 2021, you will find that there are variety of tribunals. We will often come across Income Tax Tribunal and Central Excise Tribunal, but there are many, many tribunals. Some are constituted under the Constitution, some are under statute. For example, Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal. If you identify various tribunals, there is a necessity that domain understanding is important. Without domain understanding, it's not possible to do justice. In GST, the emphasis on domain understanding is nothing like any other law in the past. So therefore, someone needs to bring that deep understanding of business, deep appreciation of how legal interpretation of commercial transactions have to be given, and therefore there is this important role to be played. If departmental representatives are preside in the tribunal bench, while they may be fair, there is a perception of bias. Obviously, they have come from the department, so therefore they will likely look after the department's interest. If you see Karnataka Appellate Tribunal in the sales tax legislations, officers of the rank of additional commissioner would be deputed to the tribunal as accountant member. They will do a stint for 2-3 years. After their stint, they come back to executive roles. They come back and continue their executive functions in the department. That is not following the principles laid down by Supreme Court in L. Chandra Kumar and all those judgments. So in GST Appellate Tribunal, once a technical member joins the bench, they will superannuate from the tribunal itself. They will not return back to their department. That's one aspect. Another aspect to consider is what should be the rank and qualification, etc. So those things are matters of less interest to us, but by way of information, 25 years of service as a Group A officer and 3 years of administration of GST law is a necessary requirement for someone to qualify. The interesting thing that I heard recently was that central government has constituted their search cum selection committee to identify who could be candidates. In the first round, 51 tribunal benches have been sanctioned. We expect about 250 benches to be set up across the country. But can you imagine that they haven't got applicants? Suitable applicants, that's the important operative word. Suitable candidates have not applied for the reason that they will need to leave their current roles permanently, join the tribunal and superannuate from there. The year of superannuation was 67, now it's amended to 70 years, 2 stints of 4 years each. If you look at the choice that is there to be made, it's very complex. Judicial members will come in. Now the amendment introduced in December 23 to those provisions, section 110, is that an advocate with 10 years of significant practice in taxation can also apply to become a judicial member of the tribunal, and they will continue to stay there and serve as judicial members of the bench. So therefore, government is doing variety of things to set up the tribunal. And if you see the feverish pace with which the work is going on, it's encouraging that tribunal is round the corner. It's very difficult for anyone to say what is the date when it will be set up. Your guess is as good as mine, but I think it's not too far away. Thinking about GST, it's already been 6 years. So it's inevitable that tribunal has to be set up shortly. But from an academic point of view, as practitioners, what is it that we will have to consider? How tribunals will, remedies in the tribunal, how do we put them to good use is, the bulwark against misapplication of law is that tribunal, the proceedings take place in open court. So whatever are your arguments have to be made in open court. The tribunal has to make its decision known preferably in open court then and there. If not, they can go back and deliberate to arrive at their conclusion. So therefore, there is an enormous safeguard for taxpayers. If you go to the first appellate authority, you have made your arguments known. You don't know what they are going to say, whether they understood, whether they didn't understand, whether they understood but later forgot. There are a variety of things. So consider it our responsibility that when we carry matters for adjudication and appeal, we need to set our sights on the tribunal. Whether we will appear or we will not appear, we need to set our sights on the tribunal and work backwards from there as to what should be our first response. Our response, very often, I'm very sorry to say, and I think this is the right forum to even share this, our response has been to parade taxpayers' innocence. We will parade taxpayers' innocence and demand justice. This is such a fatal mistake that we are all making. Just this morning, I was speaking to someone who has got an adverse order in Kerala. He sent the order, and I asked him for the notice and the reply to the order. Basically, they have committed a mistake that is not uncommon. They had to claim 10 lakhs of IGST as input tax credit. They have claimed 5 lakhs of CGST and 5 lakhs of SGST. This is a very common mistake, like the people who were involved in replying to the notice at that time, they have taken this, what is commonly shared, it is human to err. To err is human. They have taken this to heart. And they have gone and told the officer, sir, actually I will tell you what is happening. I got an invoice from so-and-so with the GST of 10 lakh rupees. I have claimed 5 lakh rupees as CGST, 5 lakh rupees as SGST. It is a human mistake. 2017 GST was introduced, and this blunder was committed in July 2017 itself. So you must kindly give me one more chance. Next time onwards, I will not do this. This is not CA exam. Seri, parvagila, mail bardabadi. The reply given by the taxpayer has admitted wrongdoing. The show cause notice never had this allegation. I saw the show cause notice with great enthusiasm to see whether the officer knew what the transaction really was, what really transpired, whether the department knew, was something of interest to me academically. How did they do this forensic investigation? Nothing. 2B not matching 3B, 3B not matching 4B, 4B, same thing. They just took a shot in the dark. Something is not matching with something. Don't worry, sir. I will tell you what is not matching. Sir, all my life I have done reconciliations. First year of articles, I did not like reconciliation. Third year of articles, I was the expert in my office. Sir, I can reconcile anything with anything. At times, I have made debtors to tally with creditors. Now that in GST, I got a chance to do reconciliation, naan madkartini. Why you worry? Actually, after this whole exercise, what has happened? In 2017, 2A was not there. So what? I will find out. I remember this conference in Kerala, where we are talking about 9 and 9C and the reconciliations, etc. So one of the questions that was asked was, sir, I have a client where everything is matching. The discussion was about reconciliation. So books and returns were not matching, so how should you reconcile them was the topic of discussion. So one member raised his hand and said, sir, everything is matching, what I should do in the GSTR 9C? So another senior member said, may I answer? I said, please sir, help me answer this question. He stood up and took the mic and he said, first I will make the two not to match, then I will do the reconciliation. I am very good at reconciliation. So this man has gone ahead and told the officer, you didn't understand the question correctly. 2B is not matching with 3B is not the question. I'll tell you what has happened. This invoice, he has finally zeroed in on that particular incriminating invoice. Forget everything else. Truth does not matter in litigation, more so in tax litigation. Facts do. What are facts? Facts are allegations supported by unimpeachable evidence. But facts left undisputed, allegations left undisputed transform themselves into facts. Here was the allegation that something is not matching with something. In the course of submitting a reply, taxpayer has admitted wrongdoing. Now, how do you wriggle out of that situation? So, in the appeal, we were discussing about once the appellate authority, the adjudicating authority has rejected taxpayer's reply, adjudicating authority cannot rely on that reply to implicate the taxpayer. Friends, great disservice is being done because of this enthusiasm to provide reconciliation. The tendency of taxpayers is, I don't want this to precipitate into an adverse order and carry the matter forward in appeal and so on and so forth. It has to be resolved at the stage of adjudication itself. Not all diseases can be cured with Dolo 650. Correct? Everybody knows the name of the medicine. Everyone has. In fact, there are friends of mine, chartered accountants, they have Dolo 650 in their office drawer. The problem is the clients they have. That is the source of the headache. You can't take tablets to get rid of those clients. So therefore, friends, when we look at tribunal practice, whether you wish to go to tribunal and practice there or you don't wish to go to tribunal and practice, your case is going to tribunal. I would encourage you to please go and see how tribunal practice is, and if you go and see the way proceedings take place, you will feel greatly encouraged that you also can successfully practice in the tribunal. If all cases are headed to the tribunal, please bear in mind that you should see what should have been done in the very first response that does not do disservice to the case when it reaches tribunal. Nowadays, the trend is in GST, everyone carries the matter to High Court, filing a writ petition on the ground that tribunal has not yet been constituted, especially when there is an adverse order from the first appellate authority, carry the matter straight away to tribunal. Tribunal will admit the appeal because statutory appeal right to appeal cannot be absent. So writ petition is admitted, but what is the relief we are getting? I'll tell you, this week I saw one decision from Madras High Court, where the ground on which the matter was carried to tribunal was that the appellate authority has not examined the reply filed by the party and proceeded to pass an adverse order. High Court was very pleased to admit that appeal and said, without considering the reply, passing an order is bad, order is quashed and remanded back for passing fresh orders. Of what use is such a relief? What is the use of such a relief? If the notice does not get quashed, what is the use of such relief? The relief is to save from aggressive recovery action because tribunal has not yet been constituted. There's a circular that the government has issued, circular number 132, which says, after the stage of first appeal, since the tribunal has not yet been constituted, section 112(1) provides a time of 3 months to file appeal, for the taxpayer 3 months to file appeal. Since the 3 months will run away, but the tribunal has not yet been constituted, circular very clearly says, the limitation of the 3 months will commence only once the president assumes office. National Tribunal will be set up, the president, a retired judge from the Supreme Court, will be appointed. Once he enters office, the limitation commences from that time. But tax officers are proceeding to take recovery action by attaching bank account and so on, saying that the circular says limitation only commences after that date. It does not say that until then the demand which is in favor of revenue has not crystallized, therefore I can take recovery action. Some cases people have rushed to High Court to get interim orders. I'll give you 3 kinds of orders that are passed. There are courts that have decisions where courts have said, no, you cannot take recovery action since the party's right to file appeal is still protected until that right is demand does not become final until the right to appeal has not been exercised or exhausted. So stay granted. Other cases, what is the pre-deposit you would have made had you filed a tribunal appeal to the tribunal? 20%. In first appeal, 10% of the disputed tax is deposited. In the tribunal, 20%. Okay, so you deposit that 20%, we will grant you stay from recovery of the remainder. Third, High Court has molded relief on their own, fixing terms such as pay 10%, pay 50%, pay 100% in some cases even, Orissa and so on, 100% has been ordered to be deposited. But here the issue is as follows. In the decisions that I have had a chance to go through, I have not found this ground raised in that petition. That is, see, appeals have to be filed online. The form in which an appeal is filed for first appeal is APL 1, for second appeal it is APL 5. When you're filing an appeal, pre-deposit has to be paid through the appeal memo itself. There is no separate challan like service tax or central excise where you will make a pre-deposit there and attach that to your appeal. So if someone were to go to High Court and High Court were to impose terms that 20%, 10%, 50%, whatever has to be deposited, the GSTN should have been implemented in that matter to say, tomorrow if when the tribunal is constituted and I am relegated to the tribunal, because you came to the High Court saying what? Tribunal is not there. Now tribunal is there. Appeal will be dismissed as withdrawn with liberty to the petitioner to approach the tribunal within 3 months. Now when you go to the tribunal to file appeal, that appeal will come to chartered accountants. The one who handled the matter in High Court will have got the matter dismissed and he is now no longer available to handle this matter. When the chartered accountant logs in and prepares APL 5, table number 14, 15 does not permit them to proceed to the next screen without making 20% pre-deposit. I have already paid 10, 20, 50, whatever in High Court for admitting that appeal, but here I have to pay another. Can we file a defective appeal? Can I file an appeal stating that I will not make any pre-deposit, but I will attach my statement of facts, grounds of appeal, because statement of facts, grounds of appeal is table 15 onwards, not before 15. So therefore what happens is, appeal itself cannot be admitted. If you see the language of section 112.8, it says, no appeal shall be admitted, negative construct. No appeal shall be admitted unless entire undisputed demand is discharged and 20% of the disputed demand has not been deposited. So your appeal does not exist without the 20%. So in all those petitions, they ought to have implemented GST network, directed them to enable or inform the court that should such a situation arise in the future, they will enable defective appeals. Table number 14, 15 of APL 5 will be made optional. You tick that box and say, without deposit I will proceed, and when you proceed, tribunal should now prepare a defects cause list and a regular cause list. All defects matters will be taken up in the morning to decide whether the appeal should be admitted or not, at which time deposits made in court can be considered by the tribunal. Friends, this is not a joke to go to High Court at the drop of a hat, but I'm seeing an alarming number of people rushing to High Court. Rushing to High Court. If you look at removal of difficulty orders number 9 and circular 132, very clearly the law says limitation does not commence. When limitation does not commence, there is suspended animation on the entire disputed demand. All that the taxpayer might need to do is to inform the jurisdictional officer to say that I wish to proceed on appeal to the tribunal when it is constituted. Kindly avoid taking any precipitative action in respect of the adverse order that has been passed by the appellate authority. This is something of importance because we deal with taxpayers' pains and pressures all the time. In fact, recently I was trying to get a blood test. Went to the lab to get a blood test. I saw one chartered accountant friend sitting next to me. So I said, so we were waiting. So I started talking to him and we got talking and I asked him how come he is here. He said, no, actually there's a client of mine who needs a blood test. Said, where is the client? Our Barlila, sir. That is the extent to which we have taken the word hamdard, we have taken it to a whole new level altogether. Same pressure I also have. His pressure I have. Obviously same cholesterol level also. Sugar also same level it will be, more or less. 10 units, but that is the extent to which we have. My again request, don't take matters, don't get so attached to clients' matters. But looking at it objectively, we will need to examine rushing to High Court does not necessarily give relief. No, but I don't understand writ petitions, etc. No, we don't need to understand writ petitions. We just need to know whose blood has to be given. We just need to know what is the relief that is prayed in the petition. What is the relief? Interim relief portion we can read, and final relief that is prayed before the court is what we have to examine. Because bear in mind, tomorrow if APL 5 does not get filed, we will get fired. So therefore, look at it from this point. Now to look at what else will come up as far as the tribunal is concerned. 90% of all notices are erroneous. There are mistakes galore. There's no ingredient sufficient to bring home the allegation that exists in the show cause notice. But what happens is, the reply to the notice is fulfilling all the missing gaps in the show cause notice. This is probably because of our, we're used to doing this. We're used to answering questions even if there were errors in the question paper. How many right from BCom, throughout CA, ICAA, all the professional courses we have done, those who have done multiple courses, all 3 courses, have you come across a question with an error? In every batch, there will be some kids who will come after the exam and tell us in the scooter parking, question number 7, tappittu gottaitala. What? There was a mistake in the question, this boy knows. I have no clue after attempting question number 7 that there was a mistake. And this experience started in foundation exam itself. Because there is one boy in foundation who you are not supposed to talk to after the exam. You also, okay, all of us have been allotted one person like that. Here is one person you must never talk. You can talk to him before exams, no problem. He will give a little bit of tension. After exam, you should not talk to him, because that tension will now translate into depression. Because you have 3 more papers. Foundation has only 4 papers. And first paper is accounts. First paper is accounts. So partnership accounts, as it is 30 hours is not sufficient. Oh, 3 hours. It seems like 30. 3 hours is not sufficient. You manage to somehow finish the paper and not think about it. That is more important. You are fighting yourself in your mind because tomorrow you have another paper. And you see this person, you know who I'm talking about? Yeah, the name that's coming to your mind, that person. You see this person, so you run away from there. But he is not one to accept defeat so easily. He will come home. He will come home. And if you send word that you are not at home, he is not one to be fooled easily. He knows you will be at home. He knows where you sit and study. So he will come in and ask you what was the answer to question number 8. Partnership accounts, retiring partners, share to be paid. And the answer I got was 17,333.33. That is the share of the partner to be given to the outgoing partner, goodwill, all of those things. 17,333.33. So I told him my answer. I had to ask him, obviously, what is the answer he got. I was not asking that question. I was not asking. I don't want to know. You get 100, boss. It does not matter. I only want 50. So the answer, finally, he offered to give me his answer. Oh, but I got a different answer. My heart sank there. Next day, I have a paper to prepare for. Anyway, so what is the answer you got? Outgoing partner's share. What is the answer? 20,000. Now you please tell me whose answer was wrong. How many here think my answer was wrong? 17,333.33. His answer is 20,000. Whose answer was wrong? How many think my answer was wrong? I didn't like him, now I don't like you also. I worked hard, I got that answer. Experience has taught you that the correct answer will not be such a vague number, it will be 20,000, because you are giving an answer without even reading the question. How dare you? My friend's name you don't know. And madam said that all of you know me and you don't even need introduction. Uncharitable, huh? This is what's happening in replies to notices. We don't even know if the question is correct. Not required. Question number 7, there is a mistake. I will first correct the question, then I will give the correct answer. That is talent. Two things are not matching. First I will make it not to match, then I will do the reconciliation. BRS, rectification of errors, is all expertise we have in this auditorium. So friends, please bear in mind, that expertise is not to be shown at this place. In GST, we need to recognize whether the notice is correct. Govind Saran, Ganga Saran, Supreme Court decision very clearly says that to foist a liability, the ingredients required to establish that liability needs to be brought out in the show cause notice. We got an order in GST order for one of the clients here. Additional commissioner has passed, joint commissioner has passed the order. The order says, please pay GST 2 crores. Please pay GST 2 crores. So we filed a rectification application. What is GST? Central GST na, state GST na, IGST. Because I can't file appeal on the portal because it says wrong tax type if I enter GST. So we filed a rectification. We got a reply. Reply said, whatever is the suitable GST, kindly deposit. So I told them that let's file the appeal. So some suitable head, IGST, we deposited 10%, we filed appeal. First ground of appeal was that we don't know what is the, you don't have to throw the phone away. That is how disappointed I was also. So we filed an appeal. The first ground was the order is defective. For confirming a demand of goods and services tax, we don't know under which mysterious legislation this tax is being levied. First piece of evidence is the application for rectification, and the reply to rectification that was provided was submitted along with the subsequent submissions. During hearing, other things were there. During hearing, we told the appellate authority that, sir, first you answer this question. What is this GST? First, what is this GST? You have to answer, then we will go into the rest of the case. Okay, other than that, what do you have to say? I am not saying anything. See, we have to get past the first hurdle. We cannot brush it aside because my remedies in law will get brushed aside if I brush this issue aside. So I said that we need a very clear finding on how this hurdle, how demand of goods and services tax was converted into a demand of central GST and state GST. Said, what you say is very valid. I will remand the case back to the adjudicating authority to pass fresh orders. Said, you don't have power of remand. Can you say that to an appellate authority? Recording ಬೇರೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ. Can you tell an appellate authority that he does not have power of remand? You are not telling him that. The statute is telling him that. He does not have power of remand. That power is enjoyed only by the tribunal in 113(1). The safeguard is that you can hide behind the law and let the law put forward this argument. Fear and this uncontrollable desire to build friendly relations with officers compels us to compromise the client's position. So he said he's going to remand. So we told him, there's a great problem in the statute, so you and Parliament have a problem. I have no problem. I told him, you have to pass a finding, because there is this concept called doctrine of merger. Once a detailed discussion has been had in the adjudication order and the appellate authority upholds that order, all the discussion in the adjudication order becomes part of the appellate authority's order. At any given point of time, there can only exist one order on one issue. Previously, it was the adjudication order. Now, by merger, it has become part of the appellate authority's order. So, all the defects that I am raising in the adjudication order will now have your name against it. Tomorrow, when you carry this matter to tribunal, tribunal will ask that question to the appellate authority. How did the appellate authority overcome these findings? So I am placing on record this rectification application and the response to rectification and my demand in ground number 1 that this hurdle is impregnable. You cannot overcome this. It has now been 2 years since the hearing. We haven't got an order. Friends, there are ways to win a matter, because the law provides us those remedies. Taxpayers have rights, they have remedies, and there are safeguards in the law. But we think parading the truth, correcting the mistake in the question and giving the correct answer is good for a student. It's not good for a taxpayer. If taxpayers had to rectify mistakes in notices, then it amounts to violation of principles of natural justice. A very nice principle. It's called the Leary principle. Justice McCarthy laid down this principle in Leary versus Northern Union decision, where it was held, when the statute gives an opportunity, a chance for a fair trial and a right to appeal, when the statute gives chance for a fair trial and a right to appeal, a person cannot be expected to make do with an unfair trial and a fair appeal. It's called the Leary principle. Just because adjudication was unfair does not mean appeal can make do whatever injustices were meted out. If the adjudication was bad, the adjudication order must be given quietus, because the appellate authority is not an adjudicating authority of higher rank. If you look at section 2(4), it defines who an adjudicating authority is and it excludes appellate authority. An appellate authority cannot call for books of accounts. Appellate authority cannot redo adjudication also. In VAT, one of the first appeals we filed in sales tax, I remember, there were 3 issues. In adjudication, we filed an appeal before JC appeals. We came out with an adverse order with 8 issues. Appellate authority used to have executive functions earlier in his career. After his appellate stint, he will also go back to executive functions. So he knows what are the mistakes that might have been committed. So an appellate authority in VAT and service sales tax would call for books of accounts, and chartered accountants would queue up with books, bills, vouchers for appellate authority to examine. So here in GST, when we tell the appellate authority, I will not produce books of accounts, can we say I will not produce books of accounts? Is it all right for as a chartered accountant who's representing a client in first appeal to tell the appellate authority, I will not produce books of accounts? What will happen? Is it all right to say I will not produce books of accounts? Appellate authority cannot expand the scope of the provision. Appellate authority cannot expand the scope of the investigation, go into many other things. There are 2 provisos in 107(11) that is of interest, because such things can happen later also. We have to be very careful. 107(11), which deals with the powers of the first appellate authority, says they can confirm, modify, or annul the demand in the decision or order. Confirm, modify, or annul. When we are confirming, modifying, or annulling, First appellate authority says, you tell me what the details are. I'll give you an example to highlight what is the what modification could mean. There's income in the financials, other income. The schedule to the financials says other income hyphen discount received from suppliers. Other income, discount received from suppliers. So the adjudicating authority, show cause notice is issued saying on other income you have to pay GST. Whatever reply was filed was disregarded, and the demand confirmed saying on other income you have to pay GST at 18%. If it is state department, it is always CGST, SGST. Nam revenue target. CGST, SGST on other income. So we filed appeal to the first appellate authority, and we said it is undisputed that it is a discount received from supplier. It is not discount received from somebody else. No customer involved here. Supplier has given me a discount. What is the journal entry for writing back creditors? We all know this. Transfer the creditors balance to other income. Something that appears as income does not ipso facto mean it is arising from supply and it is a turnover. Accounting income is not necessarily always from turnover of the assessee. It could be just an accounting reporting methodology. So we said on this other income there cannot be any incidence of tax. If at all you want to demand tax, you should have demanded reversal of credit, because to this extent I have not made payment to my supplier. I am not admitting that I will pay any tax. I am not going to reverse credit. I am not even going to pay output tax. Just to highlight that A did not commit the murder, I am explaining that B was at the scene of crime. That's all I am saying. I am not going after B. I am only trying to exonerate A. So the appellate authority said, very good, nice explanation. So I will drop the demand for output tax. I will confirm the demand for reversal of input tax credit. Please bear in mind, I have a right to a fair trial and an appeal. I cannot be asked to settle for an unfair trial and a fair appeal. In appeal, what has to be examined is only whether the adjudication order is right or not. Once the conclusion is that the adjudication order is wrong, there ends the role of the appellate authority. The appellate authority now cannot wear the robes of a adjudicating authority, much less an audit or an investigating agency, to redo fresh proceedings. Not possible. But there is something called acquiescence. If you keep quiet, many things can be done to you. Acquiescence. If you tolerate it, many things will be done to you. So the minimum requirement is to make your objection known. How do you object? You have to make a submission that you don't agree with this. How do we not agree? As a society, we don't know how to say no. We have been taught. Sabdesha, sanskar. We have been given good upbringing. We don't say no. Will you come at 9:30? If I say no today, this person is going to be disappointed today. Papa, tomorrow morning at 9:35, I will disappoint him. How can I disappoint him today? That's our upbringing. We don't say no. Will you do this? No. Why? Why? Yeah. No is the end of the conversation. No. Why are you wasting your time having next conversation? You go to, what is your alternative? You step out onto the street, stretch your hand out. Nowadays, everyone does it on the app. You stretch out your hand, one auto will come and stand. Correct, no? Invitation to offer. Yellige. Invitation to offer. Malleshwaram. He'll go away. No! See, he knows this so well. We don't know this. He knows how to end the conversation. Yes, sir? Angela. Invitation to offer. Malleshwaram. Terms and offer. Consultation by this meter. This is already rocket speed. That is a different matter. Please bear in mind, we have to be very clear to avail the rights and remedies in the law. We have to take a stand. We have to make that stand clearly known to the other party so the other party can decide what they want to do next. In Mysore, there was an appellate hearing where the notice was issued based on guesswork. ಯಾಕೋ ನೀವು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಆ ಥರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತೀರ. ದಟ್ ಸಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನ್ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ದೇರ್. Exactly, if you read it, you will come to the same conclusion. I don't want to bore you with the details of the notice. If I look at you, it looks like you have not paid tax correctly. Many people say that. But that is not the point. So, notice was issued, order was confirmed, matter was carried in appeal. In appeal, the question was, you have not put forward your arguments properly. So, we started making arguments. The appellate authority said, you don't know how to argue the case. Chartered accountants are completely triggered if someone says you don't know something. There is nothing we don't know. Correct? You see program schedule. Anything other than Companies Act you studied in your exam. But we will talk. We will talk. There is one chartered accountant friend of mine. He went to a company which makes pharmaceuticals. He was giving them a presentation about pharmaceuticals. See, domain understanding. That is what this course prepares you for. You find out, you learn, you teach yourself. Go to tuition, won't help. You study on your own, RTP, PTP, TTP, PPT, you learn. And once we have learned, can't control. We just need a room, not even audience. Yes, madam? We just need a room, no audience. Points ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಸಿಟಿ ವರ್ಷ ಮುಗಿತು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇಳೋರು ಬೇರೆ ಸಿಗ್ತಾರೆ. So we will talk about all things, and when someone says that you don't know how to argue the matter, you get triggered. Yes, client, please, not required. I will show him how much I know. Group 1, Group 2, November, May, everything. Everything I will. Sir, we have taken extra answer paper also and given answer. How the hell? Nobody here would have not taken extra answer paper. There is a skill to tie the drama. The question is, this was a trick. This was a trick to see if you will disclose more than what is available on the files. All right, sir, I don't know how to present. How would you like me to present? How would you like me to present? First, you should tell me who is the appellant. A for apple, B for ball, C for cat. Next, you tell me what is his business. Then we will go into what is the notice, time limit, etc., etc., etc. I said, okay, sir. If you are willing to be humiliated, you will be successful in litigation practice. But if you are unwilling to be humiliated, you are fit to be a client, not in practice. All that, this is the way you want me to present the case, but my grievance with the order is exactly this. Nobody knows what my client does. Adjudicating authority never knew what my client did. He issued me a notice. Now, as appellate authority, you also don't know what my client does. How did you come to conclusion that it is a supply? That is my grievance. So he said, I agree with you. I agree with you. Gear shifted now. From aggression to cooperation. Now it is, tell me what it is. I am there. I will do justice. Tell me what he has done, what he does. I will tell you whether it is taxable, what exemption, etc. Then all that is not required. Let's not go beyond the scope of the grounds of appeal and the relief parade. Let's not go beyond it. The ground is that nobody knows what is the nature of business of the asset. Therefore, the demand cannot sustain. I will give you one more chance. Since he is your client, can you tell me what does your client do? What does your client do? Many times we know so much about what our client does, sometimes client will not know. You see AIS, what happened this year? I don't have fixed deposit in Canara Bank, sir. Bannili, torustini. We know more than what client knows about his business. So you must be knowing about your client's business, so tell me what it is. Sir, matters not relevant to the case, I don't bother to investigate and find out. Matters not relevant to the case, I don't bother to find out. ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೀಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಕೆಲಸ. Last chance I am giving you. Now shifted gears again, aggression. Last chance I am giving you. Tell me what he does. I will see to it that justice is done. I respectfully decline the opportunity to introduce new material that does not form part of the order in appeal before you. Friends, please bear in mind, we need to know how not to let these circumstances, these insinuations, these approaches that are followed to get the better of us. We need to know exactly how the case is going to unfold. When someone comes in for audit, departmental audit, ADT1, chartered accountants sometimes are so stressed. Friend in the pathology lab, he call me immediately. Listen, I want to speak to you. When someone gives repeated calls, it's not like you don't answer calls because you don't like somebody. You are not able to answer their call, that is why you don't answer. And when you there's some method by which you can see the calls you have missed and you can call them back if you are a decent person. Or if both are decent. They will keep on calling you because they know that you cannot be doing anything more important. So when I got 2-3 calls from this person, I called him back. I said, what is the urgency? What is going on? I received notice. Calm down. Under which section? Gotilaga. I said, what happened? I haven't opened it. He's got a postal cover saying Government of India, GST Department, Banshankari. He called me. I said, you open what is it? Notice suitable. Under what section? ADT1, notice to commence audit. Notice to commence audit, notice of demand are entirely different things. Howda? And he went away. So friends, please bear in mind, we need to have a very clear vision of how this case is going to unfold. The reason why I say this is, when your client's case is selected for any departmental proceeding, it could be under 61 to scrutinize it, audit under 65, enforcement action under 67. When you are selected with some expense. It costs somebody some amount of money to pursue your case. They are not pursuing your case to give you a clean report. Who better to understand this sentiment than a room full of auditors? Who better to understand the sentiments than a room full of auditors? When you get a new audit client transferred from my office to your office, the greatest amount of effort that you will ever put in on that file will be that first year. After that it doesn't matter. You want to find out all the mistakes I have committed in the previous year's audit. Classic. So you understand. Who better can understand this sentiment of fault finding, whether it is meritorious or not? Finance Minister on the floor of the Parliament, while announcing the Sabka Vishwas scheme, made a statement that government has a 15% success rate in tribunal. Then why you don't want to practice in tribunal? 80% chance you are getting from government side. Finance Minister said 15% chance of success is what government has empirically observed in the tribunal. Therefore, they want to propose a Samadhan scheme. If anyone wants to go away Samadhana again, you can come forward and take this scheme. Samadhana bed andre irri. So So if you look at it from that point of view, notices will be issued even if there is a 15% chance of success. So the observation need not even have merit. Before issuing, when the notice was issued, government's chances were 15%. After reply was filed, it increased to 50%. Why? We did the reconciliation. 2 a 3B. I will R1 3B. That's also. Sir, I have also done in annexure in a pivot table, E-label 3B, sir, if you like it. You just select what criteria you want, tick ಮಾಡಿ, drop down, data sort ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿದೆ, you just select it, arrow tick ಮಾಡಿ, you'll get all the reports. Sir, actually, if you permit me, draft focus notes ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. Friends, please bear in mind, we need to have a vision. If this is how it's going to reach the tribunal, how will it unfold every step of the way? And if these are all the steps that might be involved, what is it that I should not do now? Don't call me. Read the notice, see what is the first response. First response, accept the liability and discharge it. Dispute the liability and litigate it. Very often, clients call chartered accountants. I'm sure you have got calls like this. We get calls like this all the time. Notice is received, notice is sent to the chartered accountant, and the question to the chartered accountant is, cut the gap. And invariably, somehow chartered accountants assume that our answer has to be, why? No. Why would anyone need a chartered accountant to tell them that the demand has to be discharged? Kattu anta helake auditor ಬೇಕು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ fees ಬೇಕು. So therefore, we have to distance ourselves from this decision because it is his registration, his case, his demand. Client has to make this decision whether they want to accept it and discharge the liability or they want to dispute the demand and litigate further. But the place where the two circles in this Venn diagram overlap is when the patient approaches the surgeon, they want to see confidence in the eyes of the surgeon. If they look at the surgeon, the way the surgeon looks at the X-ray response, patient will get confidence. 50% of the disease is gone already. Confidence. But the trouble here is the doctor is crying looking at the X-ray. Oh, you notice one notice. Doctor is weeping looking at patient's X-ray. Friends, we have to distance ourselves from the decision to accept and discharge or dispute and litigate for the reason the decision to dispute something or discharge something is not based on understanding of the law. Decision is not made based on an understanding of the law. The decision is made on probability, cost benefit, time value of money. All group 1 topics only they will use. Group 2 they don't even discuss. GST group 2. So when you visualize it, kindly permit the client to make that decision. Supreme Court yesterday said 16 lakh rupees dismissed the appeal. SLT was dismissed because the demand was 16 lakhs only. Because High Court had reached a finding in favor of assessee, Revenue had carried the matter in Suncraft Energy's case to Supreme Court. Supreme Court dismissed it, saying that it's only 16 lakhs, don't waste our time. So if you look at it from that point of view, reasons why certain decisions will be taken need not be based on the law. So therefore, a decision is made and then it converts itself into instructions for the customer. Once they decide to dispute the demand, if they want to discharge the demand, then you have nothing to say, only follow the procedure of how it has to be discharged. If it is to dispute it, then question comes, how do we dispute it? I've seen many instances, especially in departmental audit. Audit comes up with a long list of observations. This is not done, that is not done, this is not reversed, that is not reversed, etc. And the department expects under Rule 101(4) to send our observations saying that please give your response whether you agree to it or not. I've seen many instances that 50 pages of reply is given to an audit observation. So I asked one chartered accountant, sir, why do you give such long replies at such a premature stage of the proceedings? Audit is done. They have said you have to pay some tax. Obviously, they know your stand is that you don't want to pay tax. That is why you have not paid the tax. Their stand is that you should pay the tax, and that's why they are demanding the tax. Now you only have to tell them whether you want to pay or you don't want to pay. It is not trying to convince anybody. So therefore, why do you give such elaborate replies? The Chartered Senior Chartered, he gave a response that was very brutally honest, that broke my heart. He said, fees, quantum of fees and length of reply have some direct proportion. This is not final. Extra answer paper, 41 birth. Length of the answer and the fees somehow in the mind is having some direct proportion. Yes, sir, 50,000 rupees, 2-page reply. If the disease is very serious, should they give half-liter injection? ತುಂಬಾ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಇಷ್ಟು ಸೂಜಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಕೊಡೋದು, ಅದು ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. Somehow this notion we have not been able to overcome. So he said it's all because of these. And I think the greatest disservice to the case starts right there. All that the department wants to know is whether you will pay or not. They are not interested in why. Why? Photo ತೋರಿಸಿ ಹುಡುಗ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಏನು ಸರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹುಡುಗ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, CA ಓದಿಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, CA ಓದ್ರೇ ಅಲ್ಲ. So therefore please bear in mind, they want a reply to a notice is not a justification of your interpretation of the law. Reply to a notice is a disclosure of your position in the matter. Yeah, it's not relevant. See, it's like a student who has failed some college exam. What is the use of asking how much marks he got? Will the outcome change? It will not change. I don't agree with his demand, that's the end of that. But then department wants to know what is the reason, and the incentive is there is a good chance that if your reply is convincing, I will be able to convince my bosses. There is a good chance that if your reply is convincing, I will be able to use all those points and convince my bosses to drop this demand. The reason why all these explanations are thought at the pre-notice stage is so that a show cause notice addressing all those points of view can be issued. I think we've seen this far too many times not to believe such things. So a premature, at pre-notice stages, short replies are sufficient because it is a disclosure of your position in the matter. I don't agree. Therefore, you may now proceed with what else you want to do next. Key photo note. That's proceed. So therefore, please bear in mind, we will have done great disservice to the case if we think that we will somehow, with an elaborate reply and the charm of our faces, will convince an officer to do disservice to his duty. What is the loyalty of an officer towards? First, towards the revenue. And the state encourages him to book cases even if they have 15% chance of success. The ask cases, it will end up with a notice. So every proceeding that starts, you can rest assured, will take one of two paths, DRC 3 or DRC 1. The reason why I say this is, hardly anything can be accomplished in the tribunal if the case has been damaged in pre-notice stages and in adjudication. So therefore, we need to be vigilant to find out what we should say, what we should not say. Because it's not a mystery, it's not like somebody else has to tell us what those things should be or should not be. On facts and law, I will just share two aspects for you to please consider. On facts, accept, reject, replace. You have to do one of three things. On the facts that are stated, you accept it, you reject it, or you replace it. You don't have to replace it. You accept something which is stated to be a fact if it is a fact and you are agreeable with it. But if something is pretending to be a fact and you don't agree with it, you reject it, saying that this is not the fact. Then what else is it? Are you doing re-audit? Audit was the time when you had to find out the fact. If this is not the fact, this is not the fact. Sometimes it will be in the client's best interest to give what is the alternate fact. You will replace the fact. So please keep these expressions in mind. Accept, reject, replace. One of the three things you must do on the facts. On the allegations, don't accept allegations without examining the evidence in support of allegations. Allegation with evidence becomes fact. Allegation without evidence, left undisputed, also becomes fact. So when there are allegations, you just need to examine whether you reject the allegation or you accept the allegation. You accept the allegation, 2A is not matching 3B. You agree or you don't agree? 2A is not matching 3B is not the allegation. So 2A is not matching 3B is the basis on which the allegation that you have not complied with the conditions of input tax credit is the allegation. To reject an allegation, what should we do? To reject the allegation, what should we do? Please remember, a reply is not a justification for your self-assessment. A reply is a disclosure of your position in the matter. The allegation is disputed. The reason why it is important to consider these 5 points on facts, accept, reject or replace, on allegations, accept or dispute. The reason why it is important is burden of proof remains on revenue to bring home the allegation. If you accept the allegation, then the burden of proof is discharged. If you omit to reject the allegation, burden of proof is discharged. If you reject the allegation, burden of proof remains to be established and discharged. Alright, what is the evidence? The reason why I am concerned about this is experts on the subject, all our chartered accountants who have turned advocates and practicing in High Court, we can rush to them, they are all available. Many of them from Bangalore have made a name for themselves across the length and the breadth of the country. If we call them, Raghuram sir is available, Naveen Kumar, Sai Prasad, all the experts are available for us to speak to them, but we should strengthen their hands when we carry any files to their office for their services. But if we have already done great disservice to the case already, how can we say that they need to extricate us from the hole that we have dug ourselves into? So when we look at this point, on the allegations, if we accept or reject, other income, discount received from supplier, if we start arguing on the demand itself, what does it mean? It means that we have accepted this demand. And one of my favorite examples is reverse charge liability on royalty. You know the issue of whether service tax is payable on royalty or GST is payable on royalty has been raging in the Supreme Court and various courts for the last 20 years. The larger bench was constituted in 2011 in sales case which is yet to be heard. Kesoram Industries, India Cement, then went to sales matter. It is still pending since 2011. I'll give you a question and I will give 3 possible answers to this question. You might like to please consider it. Officer says, in your financials, there is an expenditure of royalty paid to the Mines and Mineral Geology Department of 5 crores. 5 crores is the royalty paid. Royalty attracts GST on reverse charge basis at 18%. You are liable to pay approximately 1 crore and you are liable to pay interest and penalty on this demand since you have not discharged. This is the allegation in the show cause notice and here are the 3 answers to that notice. Option A. Royalty is itself in the nature of a tax. There cannot be GST on a tax. Therefore, kindly drop the demand. and of course various judgments. These few judgments, chartered accountants will really see. What is it relevant? In this reply, royalty is itself a tax. There cannot be a tax on tax, so kindly drop the demand. The reply looks very intelligent, and with so many judgments, then obviously it will be more proportionate to the fees also. Now, in this reply, let me ask you a question. Is there an admission that I have not paid RCM, or is there a admission that I have paid RCM already? Royalty is itself a tax. There cannot be a tax on tax. Kindly drop the demand. In this answer, are we rejecting the allegation or are we accepting the allegation? What is the allegation? You have not paid RCM. Am I saying that I have paid the RCM or am I saying that I have not paid the RCM? What does it say, sir? If I have paid the RCM, why will I give case law saying it is not payable? Royalty is itself a tax. You cannot demand tax on tax. Kindly drop the demand. If I say that in the answer lies embedded an admission of wrongdoing, I have not paid any tax for the reason that it is a tax on tax. When we give a reply, please read the reply to see whether you are admitting or you are denying. First starting point of reply is you admit or you deny. Then only we will proceed to justification for it. So this option number A will proceed into an order. Assessee has given a reply with various judgments that are not relevant and argued that royalty itself is a tax. Therefore, the demand should be dropped. Very clearly from the reply of the assessee, it appears that the assessee has accepted that they have not paid RCM. Therefore, demand is confirmed. Option D. The question of reverse charge on royalty has been stayed by various high courts, and it is because it is pending before the Supreme Court since 2011. Therefore, no demand of GST should be made since the matter is sub judice. Assessee has given a reply with many judgments which you are not able to understand because it is very long judgments. Copy is also not available and I don't have login to search for it. In India Kanun, I am not getting full judgment copy. Anyway, the bottom line of what assessee is trying to say that he has not paid this tax. Since he has not paid the tax, demand has to be confirmed. Useless. Third, option number 3. All applicable taxes, whether on forward charge or reverse charge basis, have been duly discharged from time to time. No liability remains undischarged, hence demand may be dropped. What is he saying? He is paid, not paid. He has paid everything and this he has not paid, or everything including this he has paid. I don't agree with the demand. That I have understood. But now the issue boils down to evidence in support of the allegation. What is the journal entry for reverse charge payment? No, you should not ask journal entry from the stage because nowadays if you ask journal entry, F7, F11, F12 only. We don't know journal entries. Now machine is also started to learn. And friends, please bear in mind, there is no evidence that anyone can produce in support of the allegation that you have not paid the RCM other than admission implied in the reply by taxpayer. The admission that is implicit in his reply is a compelling evidence. It's a compelling evidence to say you have paid RCM. Is it possible for someone to be given something? Please come here and record it. Have you paid RCM? RCM? Please bear in mind, very difficult to produce any evidence. So I was giving this example in officer training. Officers also were perplexed, so they went during tea break. An officer came and said, "Sir, in GST or 3B returns, there is one column for RCM. If there they have entered this figure, then you can say it is paid. But if there nothing is entered, then I can say it is not paid. Brilliant. Now we'll ask the same question to chartered accounting. How many have filed GST returns in the last 6 years? One return. Anybody, please raise your hand. Nobody. One question. All right. You know, after lunch, my hands are not cooperating with me till tea. Some people next to you in the penumbral regions are deep in thought. By the time I finish, they will have all the answers to the questions. Don't disturb them. Those are in the well-lit areas are compelled to concentrate. All right. All the returns are wrong. At least in this room, you can admit that there is nobody who has filed a single return without a single mistake. Those people who will get offended at this statement are actually the ones who don't know where the mistakes are. The others who are not getting offended, they know that the RCM they forgot, reversal they forgot, 42, 43, something they have forgot. But those who get upset, how does he say that the returns wrong? Till 11:30 I'm sitting at office, my wife is also upset at this. I filed the adu taptabag madi. Now if my wife comes to know what will say, ಏನು ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಲ್ಲ ತೆರಿಗೂ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ. All those are other domestic issues that it will, the side effect is this. But returns are all wrong. See, to the best of my knowledge and belief, I have filed the returns. Returns cannot become unimpeachable evidence. Are you saying that my return is wrong or I have not paid tax? Are you saying that my returns are wrong or I have not at all paid the tax? If my returns are wrong, will you collect tax 2 times from me? No. That you cannot do. It will offend Constitution. Some article will be there. Some of the experts will tell us what that article is. So therefore, please bear in mind, the response that we provide can give a shot in the arm as far as the case is concerned. Because when you reach the tribunal, you will be impressed, if not you will be surprised, if not impressed, that in 2 minutes decisions are pronounced in the tribunal. It does not take extensive arguments. Of course, some arguments take days. But if the issue is well understood and is presented in a succinct manner, it does not take more than 2-3 minutes to get a decision from the tribunal. So therefore, friends, if our sights are set on the tribunal, then we will know what we need to do. So I would strongly feel that conferences such as this, which invites members from all areas of specialization, people who have a full service from practicing in taxation, audit, including GST even, will participate, need to carry this message back, because it's not that someone with expertise in GST alone can deal with these cases, because those who come across these matters for the first time should be the ones who know very clearly what should be the first response. And the seeds that you sow here will bear fruit in the tribunal, because if you get a favorable order, department has 6 months time to file an appeal. If we get a favorable order, department has 6 months to file an appeal. If we get an adverse order and we file an appeal, department has 3 years time to overturn the order in revisionary proceedings. Orders from first appellate authority, orders from revisionary authority, all end up in the tribunal. So the notices that pass our hands are actually a tribunal case work in progress. This is just an intermediate stage of a tribunal case that is passing through our hands. We need to know what is it that we should do to strengthen the case when it reaches tribunal. Perhaps many of us here will be there to handle those matters, but all of us will see notices, all of us will address cases that clients receive, notices that clients receive, and give the suggestion as to what needs to be done. No notice, no summons, whether it is ASMT 10, whether it is ADT 1, whether it is observation in ADT 2, whether it is so-called notice, no notice must be ignored. Even if it is summoned, it must be attended to. But everything should be in writing. I find a lot of chartered accountants providing verbal response. Chartered accountants even attending summons. Under section 70, a client is issued summons. Chartered accountant accompanies. Go to double road DGJ office. Visitors area is full of chartered accountants. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ ಬಂದ್ರಿ? ಮಾರೋ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. Chartered accountants should not attend finance classes. Chartered accountants should advise clients to document their stand. You have advised as follows. It is the position of the assessee that this demand is not fair. Kindly proceed as per law to raise the demand. Because when someone has to document the demand, he has to do a mountain of work to bring all those suspicions to bear, evidence to support that in the form of an allegation, and to identify what those taxing ingredients are. Verbally speaking, anything can be said to anybody. Most investigations are stopped. Most investigations stop as soon as you document what needs to be done. And who is that person who will first advise the client that documentation has to be done? It is the chartered. The auditor, the income tax advisor, the Companies Act advisor, the one who advises on accounting services, who does their payroll. All of those services, those professionals are the ones who will be able to advise that. Take a stand. The reasons why you have taken that stand need not be impressive, because the most powerful provision in GST is, in my view, section 59. It says, every registered person shall self-assess the tax payable under this Act and discharge those taxes through the returns filed under section 39. So it is for the taxpayer to do the assessment. Who does the assessment? Taxpayer does the assessment. Carrying out self-assessment truthfully has nothing to do with that self-assessment being accurate. What is the difference between truthful self-assessment and accurate self-assessment? How many here got 100 marks in accounts in CA final? Oh, those people didn't come in. Good. So none of us got 100 in CA final accounts. But did we not take the effort to study all the chapters? Did we write, go to the exam? We wrote. We went to the exam, wrote. Did we write for only 1.5 hours if we got 50? We wrote for full 3 hours. We wrote for full 3 hours, but we got yeah, 60 minutes, 10 extra. We give it to other group also. So therefore, it's not that I wrote 1.5 hours of accounts paper. I wrote full 3 hours. I have a problem. I have a difference of opinion with the valuer. How is it? I wrote everything correctly. Partnership on dissolution, the amount to be paid to the outgoing partner is 17,333.33. All of you are wrong for agreeing with my friend. My answer is done truthfully. That is what the law requires me to do. If it is not accurate, the one who believes it is not accurate should produce a mountain of evidence that will stand trial during adjudication and examined twice over in appeal. Therefore, let's not assume that tribunal practice is not for us. Tribunal practice in some shape or form at the very preliminary stages will pass through our hands. And I compliment you for considering that this is a topic that merits your attention and being part of it. Thank you, Bhan, for giving me the opportunity and all of you for your participation. Thank you very much.
Litigation is such a serious topic, and only sir knows how to take us through in a lighter way and make us remember what he has told. So these tips will be remembered by us for a long time. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time out and coming and for enlightening all of us. On behalf of Bengaluru branch, we thank you for your time. Take a tea break now for half an hour and assemble at 4:30. Thank you.